And we are live. Okay, tonight we're going to look at a couple of Atari XEs with keyboard issues, but before I do that, I'm going to have a look at the dreaded Rapidus 800 XL again. Before I do that, I have to announce that I've finally got a tripod in the corner of the room. Previously the webcam was on one of these little desk-mounted tripods, these cheap little desk-mounted tripods, and my dad said that he had because he used to be a keen photographer, and he had about 3 tripods, and I mentioned to him that I needed one, and he's given me a fairly old Miranda Pro video tripod, which cleaned up quite nicely, and it's much better because it's got a proper swiveling shoe on the top for the tripod, for the tripod mount that I had at the bottom of the webcam, so I can now do nice smooth pans and move the camera around when I move down to the desk. I can do all that cool stuff, do everything but optical zoom really, so that's a big help, and it looks a lot better. So just get a nice comfortable angle. So yeah, with the Rapidus machine, I had this bright idea because I think at the end of the last video I'd more or less accepted the fact that this issue where the machine would spontaneously reboot when the reset key was pressed after it had been running for about 20 minutes or so, I just about accepted that that was just one of those things I was never going to be able to get the better of, and it only happened in what they call classic mode, because the machine, with the Rapidus in the machine, you boot the machine, the operating system allows the PBI device to load the FPGA core, which runs the 65816 CPU. Thereafter you can jump into the BIOS to set up the Rapidus with the reverse video key and reset. And there's various different modes you can have, but the two main modes of interest are Rapidus and Classic. Classic mode, you might think goes back to your 6502, but it isn't. It isn't the case. The 65816 is always active once the core has been initialized. And the problem that we were having wasn't in the Rapidus mode, it was in the Classic mode, whereby the machine, once it had been running for about 20 minutes or so, or prior to that, before I made some modifications, including pull-up resistors on the lower 8 address lines and swapping a couple of chips out, it would reboot eventually when you press the reset key, which was a bit irritating. But it wouldn't do that in Rapidus mode. So anyway, I had a bit of a think about sort of high-speed circuits and ground planes and that kind of thing. And I remembered that there was one machine years ago that I had which had problems with a side cartridge, and the problems were alleviated when I put the bottom shield back on the machine, because the shielding is inevitably removed when we load the machine up with all these upgrades. So earlier on this evening I put the shield back on the bottom, switched it on, left it on, and it was okay for a while, but I left it on for about an hour, and when I came back and hit reset, rebooted again. So that didn't do any good really, and that kind of put me off fiddling with it anymore. But something I did notice there, then I'd basically decided that the heat sinks and things that I'd put on the CPU were just I decided to go back to basics really, and take some of this crap off. So I took the heat sinks off the 6502, and I then went and took the pull-up resistors off the address lines. Now that was the interesting thing about that, was that as soon as I did that and then tested it again in Rapidus mode, which had previously been okay, it would immediately reboot when reset was pressed in Rapidus mode as well. So I put the pull-up straight back on. Now this whole situation isn't really such a problem, because since this machine has ultimate 1 megabyte, if I get the right, there we go, the right scene. Since this machine has ultimate 1 megabyte in it, and since I wrote new BIOS for the ultimate 1 megabyte, which has plug-in architecture so that you can add little modules and control various custom stuff via the I/O pins, what we can do is control Rapidus, the very presence of Rapidus, in the software via the ultimate 1 megabyte menu. So the way to get around this problem, I would say, for the owner of this machine, just to get around this one little fly in the ointment where this one little feature doesn't seem to work correctly, is instead of going into classic mode, which is basically a 65816 CPU running at a slower speed in a sort of compatibility mode, I would advise them to just go into the ultimate 1 megabyte BIOS, turn off Rapidus altogether, power cycle the machine. It's an important step. Power cycle the machine, and when you power it up again, Rapidus will be gone until such time as you turn it on again. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and flash the ultimate BIOS, which has the Rapidus. I'm sure anybody in chat will keep me posted of how audio quality is doing, because I'm constantly fiddling around with that to try and get it better. So I've just rolled the top off, just rolled the volume back just a tad on the microphone, because it seems to be peaking a little bit. So if anybody in chat is listening and wants to tell me how the audio is, they should feel free to do so. So what I'm going to do here is flash the BIOS with the Rapidus plugin, which I haven't tried yet on this machine. This has just had a stock BIOS in it so far, the stock alt BIOS, if you like. So we're going to flash that now. We're in accelerated mode as well, so this has the potential to go very wrong. If you hear any strange interference on the audio, clicky noise. It's clicky. Is hi old school Atari, but clicky noise, is that? Right, okay, tell me, well, hang on, I'll finish this first. I've got to unplug the capture card when I'm busy using it. Okay, I'll bear that in mind. We'll try an experiment with the audio in a minute. So that seemed to flash okay. So let's jump into the BIOS and see what we've got. And what we've got is, everything looks reasonably good. I don't know why that's set to that address. And we've got Rapidus active, so there's an extra option. This plugin adds a new option to the system information page on the Ultimate BIOS, which is Rapidus, and here it's seen as active, which is absolutely correct, and CPU speed. Hi Shocking Shuckle, how are you doing? and CPU speed 21.12 megahertz, which is close enough. And what we should also have is Rapidus core enabled. So the sound is strange. Sound is strange. Okay. What can I do about this? I take it that's strange in a bad way. Right. Okay. Let's try and fix this. It's just something something I'd noticed before. Right. Tell me if it changes when I unplug this. How are we now? Is the sound better? Or is the sound the same? Because this easy capture card, it does something odd to the audio on the machine. But it needs to be, well, it needs to be here. It's better. Okay. Awesome. Excellent. Thank you. Well, we're going to plug this back in for the moment though, because we're going to use it. But what I am going to do is going to shut the audio feed from the... I'm going to mute the capture card, because that, what you may have actually heard is interference from the Atari. So we'll mute that, and I'm aware that it still has a funny effect on the audio. I'll have to look into this, but hopefully this should be usable for now. So with that said, we will try and get back into this. And is it still working, or is it gone? Yeah, I'll have to re-enable this. Deactivate, activate. He's gonna work. He's still working. Yeah. So this is all as it should be. We've got Rapidus co-enabled, and we can turn it off. So we can turn Rapidus off. Now if I turn this off, save it, reboot. But this in itself is not enough, because if we've still got the Rapidus BIOS, even though we've disabled Rapidus and rebooted. What we've got to do is power cycle the machine. So we're going to go ahead and power cycle the Atari, turn it on again, and we should get no core loading screen. But we've got some... that's not very good, is it? Is that the cable? Technical issues. Don't you just love them? I'm going to reboot again, see if this goes away. Try this again. That's better. No, the capture device doesn't sync properly sometimes. So hopefully we should get no core, which we don't. If I press the inverse video and reset key, we should get nothing, which we don't. And if I press reset, we don't get a reboot, and that should continue ad infinitum if my theory is correct. So this is, we've got back to a stock machine, which is really what we want with classic mode, but this is a more stock machine. It's better than stock, it's better than classic. This is the actual stock Atari. So now if we go into the ultimate BIOS, see what we can see here. We've got Rapidus inactive, which is correct. And we still have the option to enable. So if we enable it again, save it, reboot. Now this might actually enable without a power cycle, but it won't disable without a power cycle. So that's right, yeah. So we can enable Rapidus without a power cycle, but if we want to turn it off, we need a power cycle to get rid of it, basically. So this is the way around this problem. So now we should be able to get into the Rapidus BIOS, which we can. We get back out of it, press reset, and it doesn't reboot. So this is all good. This is all what we want to see. So I'm inclined to call that good enough, because I wasn't happy about sending the machine back with all this stupid crap of heat sinks. Actually, these heat sinks came off without too much problem. I thought I was going to have to use a heat gun to get the adhesive off the bottom, but the CPU was so warm they just peeled right off. So this seems completely usable to me, and I'm going to give it one last test with, bearing in mind we are now in, I'm going to plug the side cartridge into it, bearing in mind we're now in, this thing's a little bit overexposed actually. That's a bit better. Exposure is better. Yes, we're going to go into reboot again. Does the Uno cart work? I don't think it does still, and I don't know why. I'm going to test it again now you mention it. Okay, so let's go into the loader, let's go into the BIOS, let's go into the loader, and let's just do a quick test of, bear in mind this is a 65816 now running at 20 megahertz. So we can use the map feature. For those of you who aren't aware of this, I added a map files, which are just lists of ATR files. You can't put path names in them, they've got to be in the current directory, but in this case the map file for Packerman Terrace is just basically the preceding two file names. So if I click on that, it mounts those two ATRs and boots off the first one rather quickly. Then I press the swap button, press enter, and it should load part 2 very quickly, and it works. So as I think I said in some comments, or certainly to someone I was talking to the other day about this, the Rapidus is, I didn't want to sound like I was sort of predisposed to the thing not working properly, but there are issues, and I just don't like to send machines back that have got just little niggling little problems, but I think it's reasonable after everything that's been done to this machine, bearing in mind it did need a couple of one chip, the 74 LSO8, did swap that out because it really didn't work at all with that one in. But these are reasonable things to do when you put a lot of upgrades in a machine. I'm not gonna slag off Rapidus just because I had to change 74 LSO8. But it does basically work very well, and I was aware that the firmware update that Passu did last September really did improve things a lot. But this, the fact that I've had to put pull-up resistors on the address lines, and maybe if I put pull-up resistors on all the address lines, it would be even better. But it's really easy to put a resistor array on A0 to A7, but not quite. So it's going to get a little bit messy if I do the whole lot. So it did require some ingenuity and a few little tweaks to get it to work. But now that it works this well, I think it's quite reasonable to have a workaround for this reboot issue, which is perfectly acceptable. It'd be nice if we didn't have to work around stuff, and it's really, I would love to know why we get this reboot issue, but it's perfectly usable, and it does run very well. And as far as the ultimate 1 megabyte PBI stuff and everything, which was just disastrous when the Rapidus first came out, just did not work at all for various reasons, and works really nicely now. So I'm fairly happy to bolt this machine together and send it back. and collect money for it as well, importantly. But so yeah, let's try the Uno cart before we do anything else, before we pull some other machines out of the pile. And the other machines I've got in the pile should be quite exciting, because unusually I have not much idea what is wrong with them. They actually came back. They came here for keyboard renovation and such like, but I didn't realise that there were actual problems with the keyboard, physical problems with the keyboard. So when we test these machines, it's going to be a complete mystery what's going to be wrong with them. So right, I've got plugged the Uno card in. Rapidus core is loading. It's completely ignored the Uno card, which is absolutely to be expected, because it doesn't seem to want to know. So let's turn off Rapidus, save it, power cycle, see what we get. Actually, I'm an idiot. You better turn off this first, because it will block every cartridge. And let's turn off Rapidus X and reboot again. We've got at least a reasonable chance that the cartridge will show up. Power cycle. No, does not want to know. And yet, if I replace the Uno cart with the Ultimate cart, plug that in, I think we will be straight into it. And it doesn't. Hang on, I'm doing something stupid here, aren't I? I'm doing something really dumb. Because this did work. The Ultimate card did work before. Why does it not work now? What changed? There it is. So that one wasn't seated properly. So the Ultimate cartridge works. So let's assume that the Uno cart, because it's very slim and it doesn't sit quite as sturdily in the cartridge slot, let's assume that that one was also improperly seated and see what happens. Come on, come on. Nah, it doesn't want to know. Does not want to know. Even if I lean it forward a bit, see what happens. It's got power. Nah. Uno cart, no worky with this machine. And am I going to spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure out why? I don't think so. That one is a mystery to me. It's as big a mystery to me as it's a mystery why Rapidus reboots on reset after 20 minutes in classic mode. Is it something I need to figure out? I mean, it may just be a timing thing. It probably is. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so let's take this machine, put it to one side, and let's have a look at the next one. What a fantastic advertisement that is for the Uno cart. Bearing in mind I'm going to make them shortly. But they do work on all my other machines. So all the machines that don't have repeaters in, the Uno cart works in all of those. So what are you going to do? So let's, before I do anything else, let's test this, because the problem seemed to be that the keyboard wouldn't work. So let's give it a test. See what we get on the screen. So the machine works, but apparently the keyboard was dead, and any keyboard that was plugged into it was dead, which would suggest that there's a fault with the pokey chip. So what do we get? And we get indeed no keyboard, but we do get a power light in the keyboard. Okay, so let's power it off. Let's get a spare non-working keyboard and try it in the machine. And if the spare non-working keyboard works, then I get to spend another hour or two painting traces on the mylar, as I did yesterday. Right, put the lid down here. Now that didn't seem to be plugged in very well for a start. Before we do anything else, let's plug the thing in properly. Is this going to be an easy? Hang on a minute. I'm pretty sure I know what's wrong with this. The end of the cable is very loose in the edge connector, so I think we need some sort of shim. I think we need to make a shim for this connector. This is very, very flimsy, and it just fell straight out of the connector. So hopefully all we've got to do is make a shim. Now what we're going to make a shim out of, we need some sort of transparent plastic so that we can glue it on the back. Where am I going to get some transparent plastic? I don't really want to cut up the box of the webcam that I was going to sell, which I had the receipt for, and I was going to take it back to Maplin, but Maplin closed. What can we use? What can we use? I don't want to cut that up either. Oh, there must be something. Let's think. What can we use for a shim? What about this? Yeah, perfect. Right, and we need a pair of scissors. The mic's gonna fall off. Right, let's hope this is an easy one. That's going to be long enough. So this is one of those little vacuum pack thingies off a SD card. Cut that across there, like so. Make it about the right length. looks about right. Right. The tricky part is to get the thing to actually go in. Right, so I'm going to force this this flex cable back into the connector. That's still very loose. Don't tell me the connector's knackered. Right, so I've stuck that in there. Let's power up and see what we get. Come on, be a nice easy fix, so I don't have to use my brain. Yes! Brilliant. Oh, yes. Okay, so the machine works because the keyboard works, and the problem here was that the flex cable was too slim to sit tightly in the connector. So all we need to do here is glue this piece of transparent plastic onto the back of the connector. Which we're going to do now, and that is that one fixed. And then we can move on to the next one. Maybe we'll get everything done in one session. I'm going to trim this down a little bit. Okay, that looks reasonable. Now, again, am I going to glue this on the back of here with? I'm going to try false nail glue. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is not my false nail glue, which is the conductive side. Anyway, I want to glue it on the conductive side. Right, that one. So hang on, let's get this right before we do anything stupid. Yeah, this has to glue on this side. Alright. Well, we'll try. Just glue that up there. Like so. I have no idea whether this is going to stick. And should really put this on a flat surface, shouldn't we? Yes, we should. Let's just put this on here and press down. And stay flat. I'm going to press down on this and hope that it sticks, and hope that I don't glue my fingers to the, which I have. Ow! Ow! Right, hold that down till it sets. Do 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 do. Right, you stuck. Okay, oh, that looks pretty good. So let's test it again before we pronounce this fixed. Dominic, if you're watching, this is free. This one is free. I haven't got the heart. Right, let's test it. Yep, fixed. So I did test that keyboard, but obviously the connector worked loose in transit or something, so put this one back together. Nice and easy. Fingers crossed the next one's going to be just as simple. If you want an Uno card, which implies that you're one of the people that I send a private message to, and if you haven't replied to the message and you haven't paid yet, time is running out, because I'd really like to get this all finalized by Sunday night, if possible. I mean, if somebody, if you're having cash problems or something, and you say, look, I'm definitely going to buy one, please, I guarantee I'll pay on whenever, that's okay. But I can't order lots and lots of parts on the assumption that people who haven't paid are just going to pick them up later. And I don't want to have space that I need to sort of sell later on, because that's going to get in the way of McCrory, who has taken over the rights to sell the cartridge after this run's finished. So if you haven't replied yet, or just get in touch, so make sure you don't miss out. Okay, so let's get rid of this one and get the next one. And the next one is a 65XE. I'm not sure I've seen this one before. I've seen the keyboard before. It says on the bottom, 100 working, 13.3.11. So it was working 6 years ago. Let's see what's wrong with you. Let's test you first before I take the bottom off. Well, no, I couldn't have fixed the last one without taking the bottom off, but no mind. You never know. Let's see if it just magically started to work. That's the wrong connector. You're going to mess that connector up. There we go. Plug you in. Right. See what we get. Boots. No keyboard. Okay. Boots, no keyboard. Can I flip this over without undoing these? Yeah. Oops. Right. I'm going to cut down on the number of scenes in Open Broadcaster. There's far too many of them. I keep picking the wrong one. I should be used to it by now. Let's be a simple one, because I've still got to make a SCART cable for that Rapidus machine, so the less time I spend on this, the better. So, ugh. Ugh, this is filthy. Oops. Damn mic. Ugh. Dust. Dust and rust. That's not alive, is it? Oh, is that somebody? Is that something's leg? Where's the tweezers? I don't know, it looks like a piece of wood. Oh, it's okay. Cute machine. Oh, it's a nice machine. Ugh, it's just filthy. I might clean this up just out of courtesy. Okay, let's get a good keyboard. See what happens. By good keyboard, I mean one of the ones I fixed yesterday. So let's plug you in. Got to turn the machine off first, would have been a good idea. Switch to my other scene. Oh shit. Oh no, I know what this means. Wear gloves. both are valid questions. Wear gloves with an H. Gloves are on shelf. But yes, wear gloves. I have got gloves, but I'm just I don't really like them, but I should wear them. Not so much for this machine. I'm not really saying that I'm going to catch anything with it, but I should wear it for the flux. So this has a bad keyboard. Shit. Well, the good thing is that this is a Mitsumi keyboard. When I take it apart, there actually is only 1 or 2 screws in it. When I take it apart, the whole desk isn't going to be showered in little rubber cups. So, and I obviously forgot to test this keyboard before I send it back. There's no doubt about that, because it is dead. So let's take him apart. We're doing pretty good tonight so far, so let's see if we can fix this one. Not many screws to take out, and put the right screwdriver on. What the hell? Jesus, that's tight. That was a tight screw. There we are, and lift you off, and right. Put you to one side, and let's see if we can figure out what's wrong with this. Oops. I think I'm a bit overexposed again, because the sun's moving around. Better. I turn off the auto. I turn off the automatic exposure on this camera because it kills the frame rates. Right, diode mode. Let's do a visual inspection of this keyboard mylar first. See if we can see what is wrong with it. So we've got some. Where are we? Where are we? We've got some damage down here. We've got some damage down here, which is fairly obvious. We can see straight away. And the keyboard's completely dead by the looks of things. So the damage could be quite significant. So if we take this out of the metal back plate, drop the screwdriver, of course. Right. Oh, I'll put this mic in my pocket. Right, that's better. So if we inspect the back, it's often easier than which it is in this case. Oh, holy shit. Oh, this is going to be fun. Can I show you this? Can you see this? So I've turned, yeah, you can see this. You can see this. So you see here, around this area, can you see how badly corroded those traces are? And also further along here, on these diagonal parts. And I think this is pretty much what's killed this keyboard stone dead, where it doesn't look like any keys work. And it's more than likely the damage around those two areas, because everything else looks, oh shit, there's more. There's more. Look at that. That looks quite bad. So if I test continuity on these areas, we know what we're going to get. We're going to get nothing. Let's put this on the edge of the desk and see what happens. Just pick a couple of random points. Oops. Make them beep. So that's still got a signal. So damage down here. Yeah, this is broken. All around here seems to be broken. Yeah. This section here is broken. I know you can't see that too well. Yes. So we're going to have to get our silver paint out and see what we can do. Oh, this is really, really bad. Ugh. Really bad corrosion. I hate doing these. Oh, I hate doing these. So let's get our silver paint and some porous surface to paint it on. What I'll do, and paintbrush. Ugh. This probably looks like a very, very different kind of video at the moment. Right. Right. Ugh. Mess. Just going to let this sort of go a little bit tacky for a second, and I will be right back. And we're back. I bet I left that too long, I bet it's dry. Oh shit. £10 a bottle, this stuff. Why do you paint it on paper, you ask? Because it's too runny when it comes straight out of the bottle. Right, now we must work quickly. I'll aim to just paint the traces, but oh Jesus, I'll probably go over the edge, so we'll just scrape away. There's a lot of scraping going on here. Ugh. What a miserable job. Ugh, what a mess. Go back to the bottle. Back on the bottle. Ugh. Now I've got too much. Right. So we just paint the traces as best we can. They are very, very narrow. You really need to be a coach painter to do this with any degree of accuracy. And the corrosion is in the worst possible part of the sheet. This is the most densely populated areas. And this brush is really, really crap. That's all I can find. Oh, bollocks. We'll just paint and scrape. I'm just going to cover it and scrape. Okay, so now I don't care if I go over the edges. I'm just going to cover these problem areas and scrape away the gaps in between, and hope that we get somewhere. Right, where else have you got problems? Oh yeah, those traces on this side as well. These long traces. This can be a long and fruitless process. And these Mitsumi Mylars are the worst of the lot to work on, because they're just so narrow. Every time I flip it over, there's some new area. The lights probably don't help, drawing it out a bit too quickly. So I just hit all the areas where there seems to be damage, and I've got a reasonable chance of repairing it just by scraping away the shorts. Well, the main thing is to get as much conductive material on as possible, and then we'll worry about the detail later on. So are we ready to scrape? Nearly. With a bit of mist. These bits on the outskirts aren't such a problem. There's a bit of a nick there as well. Let's do you. It doesn't really matter what it looks like as long as it works. What appears to be the worst of it. This is really not the best way to do this. You should really paint along the traces, but I can't see them. Okay, so this is all going to be shorted to hell now, so scrape away. Looks about right. There are two separate traces, that's why I can't see what the hell is what. I'm not going to do it this way again. I'm going to get a smaller brush. This is ridiculous. This is just punishing. This is never going to work. Really needs a new Mylar, or someone with good eyesight. I mean, I've got good eyesight, but not that good. Get in. Get in. God, these keyboards are such trash. These screws aren't very good either. Right. Here goes nothing. No, it's completely dead. I mean, I would at least expect some sort of random nonsense, but just completely dead. This is in a really hideous state. Do I have a spare one? Let's have a look. Let's see if we've got a spare one. No spare. This keyboard's dead. I mean, I might actually clean this off and try again with a smaller brush, but it can be done, but it's just is it worth it is the question. That's the trouble. So it is a very, very time consuming procedure. So yes, I may, if I can find the energy to try that again, really if I can find a smaller brush, because the traces are just tiny. But that is really a bad, badly corroded Mylar. So the rest of the keyboard's in quite nice shape. So the best idea might be to find a keyboard of the same model which works but looks like shit, and steal the Mylar out of it, because that's just oof. No. Some things are worth spending 2 or 3 hours on, and some things aren't. So okay, I think it is time to bring things to a close. And watching keyboard Mylar repair is boring. Doing it is boring, but watching it must be even more boring than doing it. So, well, we got a 50% success rate there. purely because it was easy. So we have three working keyboards. Yeah, you're going to get three working keyboards back, Dominic, and probably the fourth one is still going to be dead. For reasons which should be apparent, which should be readily apparent. So, do I have anything to catch up with? I have no chat to catch up with. So, I think it is time to wind it up, and I will see you in the next video, which will probably cover SCART cable, DIN13 to SCART cable for VBXE, which is going to be, oh, it's going to be so great. It's going to be a non-stop thrill ride. So, in the meantime, thank you for watching. I hope you found it interesting, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.